Hi, everyone. I wanted to welcome you again for another episode of Experts Unplugged, leadership speaker spotlights from the Tri-State Camp Conference, where I, as a fellow speaker at the conference, will highlight some of our amazing speakers that are going to be speaking there. And this is in association with the American Camp Association's New York and New Jersey chapters. And the conference is taking place March 12th to 14th at the Atlantic City Convention Center in New Jersey. And our chat here today really focuses on leadership and how our expertise impacts others to think like leaders. And many of you know I'm Joanne Newborn, CEO of Newborn Evolution, where we help smart leaders build teams that think strategically, they problem solve effectively, and they take true ownership of outcomes. So today I am talking to Jacob about his talk, Doing Well by Doing Good, translating your DEI values into effective policies and practices. Now, Jacob Brier is an experienced human resource professional with a passion for community building and helping organizations interact inclusively with their people in productive ways. Jacob earned his MBA in organizational leadership from Johnson and Wales University, from which they'd previously earned a BS in marketing communications. As a lifelong summer camp enthusiast, Jacob spent their formative years attending and then working in overnight camps. From 2018 to 2022, Jacob served in elected office as a member of the Barrington Town Council in Rhode Island. In that role, Jacob advanced a range of initiatives to cultivate a more inclusive culture within a historically exclusive suburb. These initiatives included the formal creation of a municipal committee focused on diversity, equity, and inclusivity, and some new laws as well on gender identity. So Jacob brings all of this experience with them to the work they do with their company, Butterfly Benefits. The consultancy helps businesses, nonprofits, and community leaders thrive by leveraging good values to create positive outcomes to achieve goals. So thank you so much for sharing time with me today, Jacob. Um,
You're,
sorry.
you're very welcome. Thank you, Joanne.
So you have a really broad range of professional experiences, as everyone just saw. So what prior job or career do you draw on in your current work with camps or clients?
So it's really twofold. As far as the advice and guidance I can give regarding HR policies, that's
Mhm.
really drawn from my most recent role as an employee for a small business. I was the operations director for a software agency, and I handled all of HR and finance. And in that role, I honed my ability to really create and manage policies, adjust policies in a way that's going to support the business goals while also keeping the team, all the employees of a really in-demand job happy and contributing to the company. And so that's where I draw that aspect from. The rest, as far as inclusivity and helping create a sense of belonging at organizations, that really is strengthened by how broad my background is in the many different roles I've had, whether it's the service industry, working as a server or maitre d' in restaurants, working in camps certainly helps with the topic today that we're discussing with camp leadership. And I worked in both day camp and summer camp, working in fundraising and having to get buy-in from folks who are volunteering for an organization and maybe not getting paid. So you have to create that sense of inclusion, that sense of belonging for everybody who comes to participate. So it's really that broad range that I draw on and what keeps me excited about the work that I do.
Fantastic. Your presentation at the conference is on translating DEI values into good policies and practices. And in some ways, diversity, equity, inclusion are social constructs, but how do they relate to business goals?
So yeah, that's exactly right. They are social constructs, but they're constructs that were created by people to address the experiences that we're actually having. And so in organizations, whether it's a summer camp or a corporate place, creating that sense of ownership of one's work, of ownership that everybody is contributing something of theirs to the organization, those go beyond social constructs, and they really go at the core of what's up of who somebody is and how they want to contribute to their organization. And so creating these things, the diversity, equity, and inclusion constructs impact how people move forward in their professional role in very real ways. And so in social dynamics, it's about people getting along for the purpose of whether it's neighbors or whether it's a community. But in an organization, people have a choice to come and go, and you want folks to choose whether they're your customers or your employees, whether they're campers or donors. You want them to be choosing to be associated with your organization.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And this is such a big topic right now in the corporate landscape as well, trying to figure out the right path so that it's really impactful and not just checking a box within human
Absolutely.
resources.
That's something I've actually seen a lot recently is over the last several years, there's been a big movement, and most organizations have realized that these are important things, that this isn't just something that, a fringe group of businesses owned by people with maybe either a political or a social drive to their company, but that all companies, no matter their purpose, are approaching this now and realizing this is important to our people, so it's got to be important to us.
Yeah.
But because many people haven't focused on it for a long time already, they hold these values and they know they're important, but they don't necessarily know how to make it happen, and then how to make it happen in a way that's supportive of the business. Because you can be a very diverse company that gives everybody, equity in not the business equity, but the social equity in creating the right atmosphere and contributing to the company. Everybody could feel a strong sense of belonging. But if the way you've achieved that don't also support the bottom line, the company doesn't stay around, and then nobody can be included in a business that no longer exists. So it's
Yeah,
really finding that balance that that's of interest to folks.
absolutely. You make such a great point, right? It's such a through line. It's not two
Mhm.
separate issues. It's all one. So that's great.
Yeah.
Um, so in what ways does holding DEI values impact leadership? We kind of touched upon it a little bit, but I'd love to expand on it more.
So it impacts leadership in really two aspects. One, the individual leader, the person who is a leader, and then also the organization or institution as a leader. And so for companies that are getting it right, they're really seen as leaders in their industry, and they're going to be seen that way in two ways. One, it will be easier for them to recruit because people on the outside will be looking in and saying, this is an organization that gets it. This is an organization where the people there want to be there, where I can see how I can be part of that organization. And that's how an organization really sets itself apart. As far as individual leaders, the it's, as I see it, the difference between leadership and management. Management, you can find at any level of a company, and a great manager can get people to do their tasks. They can make sure that all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted. But what separates a leader, and some leaders aren't necessarily great managers, but good leaders can get people to want to move the company forward. They can understand, the great leader gets folks on their team to understand what the end goal is and how their individual contributions help get everybody there. You
Yeah.
can't do that effectively if you're not able to make a diverse group of people feel belonging. Unless you have a completely homogenous company, you need to be able to engage with a diverse group of people, get everybody aligned, moving in the same direction, and make sure that everybody feels both empowered to do their best work and then rewarded for doing that best work. And that's where the equity comes into play. And so, yeah, those values help a good leader be an effective and great leader.
Yeah, you said two words that really pops for me were empowerment and then reward. And they're both so vital
Yes.
to having, people have that satisfaction and they feel valued, when they're showing up. So that's fantastic. I have one other question. Why are these values so important for summer camp leaders?
So particularly with summer camp, and anybody who's been a camper probably instinctively gets this now, but you are immersed in camp, especially if it's a residential camp. If it's an overnight camp, this becomes the home for the campers,
Mhm.
and their bunkmates aren't just friends, they're family. And so you want everybody who's there to feel like they are part of the whole, to feel like they are um, that they're welcomed there and that they can be their true self, because you have to go to school, right? 9 months or so out of the year, you have to go to school. It's a requirement. Camp is not a requirement. It's where
Mhm.
kids are choosing to be, or where their families are choosing that they be. And that means two things. One, they have a choice to be somewhere else if they don't feel included, but also it gives you, the camp, the leaders at the camp, a responsibility to fulfill that kid's um, or to reward that kid's choice, to reward the campers who are part of making your camp what it is. Because I help organizations with policy, but it's the implementation of that policy, the execution by the camp leaders. You could have the best policy in the world, but if you're not delivering it to campers, to their families, to your board, you're not going to be achieving what it is you want to achieve. And likewise, you could have, policies that really miss the mark, that aren't setting the table to create success. But if you have great people there, they can do a good job, but they can only do a good job for so long. You really need both of those going hand in hand. And that's where these values, the values that create the inclusivity and the sense of belonging, um, holding those values are what lets you fully execute on your goals to provide a great summer for kids, great either educational or athletic opportunity, or just a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's our little unplugged nugget of Jacob's talk, and they will be speaking on Wednesday, March 13th at 3:15 p.m. So be sure to catch them. And I will be speaking on Wednesday, March 13th at 8:30 a.m. I am going to be talking about creating rock stars, designing collaborative high performance teams. So bring your coffee, come join me because I really feel that leading a high performance team and creating one that really can be consistently relied upon is an absolute must in order to thrive and serve others in today's ever changing landscape. So, thank you so much, Jacob. And I really look forward to meeting you in March.
Likewise, thank you. I appreciate this opportunity to talk a little about my talk.
Great. Thanks.